One of our great privileges and honors is to fight for justice beside people like the two courageous women I'm about to induct into the Consumer Watchdog Hall of Fame, Hilda Sarkisyan and Dana Christensen. Dana and Hilda come from different families. They're very different people, but they both epitomize the rage for justice. They both tragically lost loved ones. They both endured terrible abuses at the hands of insurance companies, and they both turned their tragedies into campaigns for justice so Americans will not have to endure the same injustice when they come after these women. Hilda and Dana, interestingly, represent flip sides of healthcare reform, what we actually accomplished, which was a lot, and where we still have to go, which is an awful lot. Dana lost her husband and found that her insurance policy wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. She was left literally with hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills, even though she was insured. She had something called junk insurance, and through her advocacy, Dana shed enough light on this problem that the federal health insurance reform ended junk insurance policies like the one Dana had. Hilda Sarkisyan and the Sarkisyan family tragically lost their daughter Natalie when she was 17 after health insurance company Cigna refused to approve in time a life-saving treatment that could have saved her. They approved it just before she died. And Hilda spoke out, she testified, she rallied with the California Nurses Association, who are here tonight, and her story was so powerful that the executive at Cigna, who handled this case, quit, became a whistleblower. This guy, Wendell Potter, was instrumental in informing Congress why they needed to go very far on health insurance reform in order to curb the health insurers. So in that way, Hilda made a very big dent, and her family story made a very big dent in getting health insurance reform to have as many consumer protections. But what she couldn't change, and what she still needs to change, and what we're working with her to change, is a system where after a loved one dies, you don't have any access to a court. Natalie suffered, and the Sarkisyan family argues this transplant could have saved her life. Yet they never had their day in court. And they didn't have their day in court because if you have health insurance through a private employer, the courtroom doors are shut to you in this country of America. Like most injustices, this injustice springs from the U.S. Supreme Court. It is a case in 1987 called Pilot Life. It's a case that Hilda is trying to overturn with what she calls Natalie's law. A law to say everyone should have access to justice, everyone should have their day in court. So we have some great videos that really talk to these women's journeys and stories. I can't do it as well. I'm going to let the videos run in a second. But I do want to say this. Barbara Boxer, who is an honoree here, who won the Philip Burton Public Service Award and is a great lady, she's a tremendous fighter. She represents 35 million Californians. Hilda Sarkisyan represents 132 million Americans, because 132 million Americans get their health insurance through a private employer, and if something happens to their loved one because an insurance company doesn't approve a treatment, they don't have a legal remedy. They don't have a day in court. This is a big issue, and I know we're going to solve it. I know we're going to prevail, and I know it mostly because I know Hilda's not going to let us give up. And so let me just show you a video of Hilda and the Sarkisyan family to give you an idea of what her rage for justice is all about.
It's just days before Christmas, and Hilda Sarkisyan is out shopping, getting ready to host dozens of guests at her Southern California home.
So you gotta be organized.
But it's not a holiday party the family is throwing. They are preparing for a memorial service that will mark the second anniversary of their daughter's death. Natalie Sarkisyan died at 17, after a 3-year battle with leukemia. Her family's grief is compounded by a large dose of anger. Their fury aimed at an insurance company they say had a role in hastening Nataline's death.
Nataline was another file they just shred. The doctors are telling you that your daughter needs a liver transplant. We have a liver, we don't have clearance.
Cigna denied the transplant. To a family facing the loss of a daughter, it seemed there was only one right answer. They appealed while precious days passed, then more than 2 weeks.
They just said, it's experimental. We're not going to approve it. Sorry.
But Nataline's mother wasn't taking no for an answer. The family took their case public, calling the local media and staging a rally outside Cigna's Glendale, California offices.
No more denials! No more denials!
Joining the fight was the California Nurses Association, a labor and lobbying group that took up Nataline's cause. The family's pressure tactics, it seemed, were working.
No more denials!
While the family was protesting, Cigna had a change of heart.
She came and whispered in my ear, Hilda, they just reversed their decision. Nataline's going to get her liver.
Cigna just approved us.
I was so excited, I was screaming.
But the struggle was far from over. Nataline's condition was deteriorating. The family left Cigna and rushed to the hospital. Even though the transplant had now been approved, it was too late. Nataline died just hours later. After Nataline died, the family sued Cigna, but the case was thrown out before it was even heard. The Sarkisyans found out that in most cases, if you get your insurance through your job, you can't sue for damages.
In America, in fact, you can sue for most things. You can sue for some ridiculous things. But you can't sue when a loved one dies because an insurer didn't give them the care that could have kept them alive.
Now the Sarkisyans are determined not to let Nataline's story fade away. They're taking up the cause of reform in her name.